So I've been having a bit of a thoughtful 5 minutes, which I try not to do too often because we don't want to scare the horses. But this was in response to articles all over the place saying how pissed off Cornish people are at second home owners. And specifically, the image was a house in St Agnes, I believe, where the house had been graffitied to the effect of, you keep buying this stuff up, you need to rent it back to locals, because this particular house in question was only used for maybe a couple weekends in the whole year. And I kind of came bellowing out of my cave, screeching that, yes, the Londoners piss me off. Why don't you just piss off back to London and take your Bowden catalogues with you? And in some ways, that's a really strange attitude because I'm all about the free market. And if you work hard, you should be able to afford what you want. And we need people who have income because it's because of the top 1% that 30% of income tax gets paid. And that's always been part of my ethos. And my husband, lovely Mark, has completely the opposite opinion to me, bawling like a banshee out of the cave when I was saying, yeah, why don't they all just piss off where they came from? His view is, it's not the fault of, let's say, Londoners coming down to Cornwall and buying up houses and having them as second homes. It's the fault of the locals that sell their houses to someone else at a grossly inflated price they know a local person couldn't understand. So in effect, it's locals driving out locals because of their own specific greed, because they can achieve a much higher price if they sell them to a Londoner. And then I had other people saying, well, Katie, you massive socialist, where did this come from? You're supposed to be pro-free market. You're supposed to be aspiration. One lady said, my husband worked so hard, we worked so hard, why shouldn't we have a holiday home, a second home where we want one? So I hear that as well. And my thought is, after some period of actual contemplation, that I'm not sure I've changed that much. I've changed massively over the years. Obviously, I look like I've been ridden hard and put to bed wet, as the Californians say. Most people think I'm kind of 65. But the thing I don't think has changed is my views on aspiration, and if you work hard, you should be able to afford what you want, and you shouldn't apologise for what you have because we need those people to generate other jobs. I think what's happened is that the greed and the conspicuous consumption, the affluence of the few, has become so much more stark. So it's not that I've had to modify my views necessarily, it's that the landscape has shifted. And we now live in a time when, if you work hard, maybe two of you working in your home, you're doing everything you can, you're saving where you can, you're trying to make things cheaper than they might otherwise be, yet you still can't afford to pay, for example, your energy bills, let alone thinking about going on a family holiday. And I think that's exactly it. It's not that I've turned into a massive socialist. It's just that in the age of greed, the ability to work hard and therefore achieve is being denied. You can't work hard and achieve something anymore. You're just working harder, achieving less, to the point where you can't heat your own home. And that's a craziness. And so I thought I'd come to you for a kind of sense check on this, which if we were on radio, as we should be in normal life, we would get this as we went along. But my original take on this is very wealthy people coming from London buying up Wales or Norfolk or all of the places you've written in and said, we can't afford to buy a house. My kids will never afford to buy a house. If you're local, you can't possibly afford to buy a house. And yet for, 12 months of the year, virtually, these places are empty because no one's using them. So in the question of second home ownership and what should be done about it, or maybe nothing should be done about it, but is the problem, A, bastard Londoners? Is the problem these bloody rich people coming in from outside with their bloody 4x4s that they won't pull into the hedgerow because they don't want to dent or damage their precious vehicle? They come in with their massive London friends, spend all their cash, are generally kind of obnoxious all over the place and think that by wearing a nautical stripe they fit right in once they've got Hugo and Beatrice, you know, with their bloody Bowden outfits on. Are they the problem? Are they the people ruining sort of seaside and coastal places of beauty like Cornwall? Or, as lovely Mark says, is it B that's the problem? Is it the bastard Cornish? And I say, so this would be the Welsh people or the Cornish people or the people that, is it the bastard locals themselves who are selling their places at an extraordinarily high price, knowing no one will be able to buy in the area, local people won't be able to rent it, knowing that they're creating another vacant home? Is it actually the bastard locals that are the problem? Or, and this is where I ended up netting out, is it that things have shifted and instead of living in an age of aspiration, which for me would have been the Thatcher years when you could aspire to work hard, you aspired to send your kids to uni, you aspired to be able to afford your own home, if you worked hard enough you could, is it that we've moved from the age of aspiration to the age of greed? And perhaps the best examples of that right now are people like Michelle Mone, the little tawdry bra factory owner back in the Apprentice days, who is now a baroness and had £100 and something million contract for PPE when it only cost her 49 million, and she pocketed the rest amongst her wealthy friends. Or the MP that's just been found out with another cocaine and whatever scandal, who took a £150,000 loan from someone in exchange for whatever. Is it that we now live in the age of greed, and that's the issue, is that the people who rule over us have never been more filthy and greedy in their way, and it means that there is no aspiration anymore, because no matter how hard we work, we can't move ourselves up the ladder. So I guess that's what I'm asking you. I'm asking you in a more thoughtful and slower way. Is the problem with these villages and Cornish coastal towns lying empty most of the year, is it because of A, bastard Londoners, B, the bastard locals selling this stuff, or C, is it something much more macro, and that we've moved from the age of aspiration to the age of greed? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this.